ITC Energy Report. I had the chance a week ago or so to fly on the helicopter inspection program where we fly very fast, very low over high tension lines with a lot of voltage in them. So it's very invigorating. And I have with me Neil Doshi, manager of vegetation and transmission line maintenance for ITC, who's going to explain to me that these aren't just thrill rides. These really have a purpose, don't they?
Yes, yes. Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me here. These are very important flights that we do 2 times a year. We typically tend to do them right after in the spring when it's leaf out. So all the trees have basically just been budding and all the trees are it's all leafed out. And then we do the second one in the fall once the growing season's over. So we typically do 2 of these flights. They're very important. They actually also help us be in compliant with FERC NERC standards, Fact 3, which requires maintenance or inspections of your transmission lines once every 18 months. So it definitely it helps us stay compliant. I don't know if you remember, Fact 3 came about because in 2000, I believe it was 2003, we had a blackout where a tree grew into a line in Ohio and basically wiped out the entire eastern part, New York, and everybody up until us here in Michigan was all blacked out. And that was just because a tree grew into a line. So it is absolutely critical that we ensure that we don't have that again. And then that standard came as a result of the outage. So we basically go through, we inspect our lines, we look for any vegetation that might be encroaching, coming close to our lines. And we also, while we're flying up there looking for vegetation, we also look at all other things we can do in terms of, kind of trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We look at our insulators to see if there's any flashes on the insulators, if there are any broken cross arms, if there are any wires that are probably coming out loose, or any of those things during our flight, because we want to ensure full reliability of the system, and we want to ensure that we don't have outages. So these are very critical flights. Like I said, we do them 2 times a year.
Yeah, and like you say, part of the flight is also, like you say, not just for the vegetation control, but things wear out, right? And I'm amazed as fast as these guys are flying. And maybe they fly slower when they don't have a reporter on board. I don't know, but they must be pretty adept at spotting these things because they've been trained for a long time, I imagine, right?
Right. They're very experienced at finding things. Usually, even the pilots that have been flying with us for a long time are typically know what the problem areas are. We also send a patroller up in the air. The job of the patroller is basically, while the vegetation guys are looking at the vegetation stuff and documenting that, the patroller, or we call it patroller line inspector, what their primary job is to spot anomalies on the system in terms of broken insulators, cross arms, like I said before, anything else that looks out of the ordinary on the transmission lines itself. And they're not as much worried about vegetation. They're more focused singularly on the transmission lines and ensure the integrity of the transmission line is maintained.
One of the things I noticed in our flight was, there's a nice wide berth for the trees and whatnot. There are still people farming underneath your lines. I was kind of surprised at that, but I imagine, how high does a stalk of corn get, right? 6 feet tall or something, right? So
yeah, there's compatible species. We always encourage people in neighborhoods to look at what compatible species can thrive under the transmission lines. We love farmers because they're out there, growing crop, and in a way, it's also doing the vegetation management for us, right? They're out there growing, harvesting, growing their crops, and it takes care of. It's less worry for us, right? Because now we know those are compatible species. Those are not going to be coming within the wire zone. They're basically, they're not going to grow as tall. So what we're really worried about is those tall growing brush, shrubs, those trees, cottonwoods, maples. Those really growing. They grow fast, and it's funny how vegetation works, right? I don't know if you ever have a nice lawn outside. You ever have nice bushes? You cut them, they tend to grow better, right? Because trees are like when you cut trees, it's like a wound, right? So the tree tries to heal itself. So when the tree tries to heal itself, it's basically starts growing even more. But that's just a natural thing that happens. And yeah, we love farmers. I mean, they serve all kinds of purpose. They help us out, and of course, they make food. So
Yeah, and of course, the folks that are doing the inspection, at least with your team, are what, foresters, trained as foresters, right?
they're all trained foresters. They've been through 4 years of college in forestry. Yeah, so I'm an electrical engineer. I don't know much about trees. I try to learn from them every day, but they're experts in their field. They know all the species of trees, what's good, what's bad, and how fast it'll grow into the transmission line. So they're really experienced and knowledgeable in what they do.
All right. So I know inspections are we're going on in May. I don't know whether they're over already or not. Are you done with your inspections for spring?
They're pretty close. We're not completely done yet. We just have 1 more 2 weeks more to go. What we typically try to do is leaf out happens quicker in the southern part of the state, because we're kind of like, it gets warmer here quickly too, and the northern part kind of tends to get leaf out a little bit towards the end of May. So we start here in Metro Detroit, and we kind of expand and then go north, and then we cover the our entire footprint in Michigan and also in Iowa.
And then you come back again in what, September, October time frame,
Yes.
and do it one more time, right?
Yes, because I don't know if you've looked outside, Mike. I don't know. Things have been growing really fast. I mean, we've had a very high growing season already. I mean, we're in June. We've had a lot of rain in April, May. It's been hot, and then so that the conditions are ideal for vegetation growth. So we've been seeing a lot of growth, and once that whole season's over, we want to go back and kind of make a review of our system. Are we all steady and hardened for the winter? Want to make sure that there's no outliers which we didn't catch through the summer. Because what happens right now is once they're done with their spring flights, we call them the spring flights, but it's right after leaf out. They will then find, like, the foresters and planners are basically calling out points and think, okay, we got to go back and look at this during the inspection. And then what they do through the summer is they ensure that all the stuff that they caught in the spring is cleaned up, right? And then after growing season's over, they want to basically go out there and ensure that, okay, everything is all set and we're all ready to go through the winter months.
All right. So when people see helicopters flying low over your transmission lines, which are what, about 100 feet or so above the ground, somewhere in that ballpark, right?
Right. Yeah. It's completely normal. Don't be alarmed. It's just something we do. Feel free to wave to them. I don't know if they'll wave back.
Well, they're moving pretty fast, I'll tell you that. They've been at 70 or 80 knots. That's zipping right along. So,
right.
All right, Neil Doshi, manager of vegetation and transmission maintenance for ITC. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.